When Auckland went into lockdown in August 2020, the cool store factory Americold became ground zero for the outbreak. For Alan Te Hiko, Americold wasn't just his workplace, but a second home, and his workmates were his whānau. To the other people that worked alongside of him, what did they make of him? What kind of colleague was he?
He told them what he thought. They knew when he was happy with them and when he was angry with them. And he supported them as best he could, because a number of them were only young guys, and being islanders, they were really, really shy to speak up for themselves. So he'd be in that support role for them. He was literally their spokesman.
So he became kind of like their tuakana, their someone who fought their fights when he needed to.
Well, quite a few of them referred to my husband as their work dad.
Oh, that's lovely. On his weekends off, Alan would return home to Tokoroa. And it was during a trip home, Alan would start to experience symptoms of COVID-19.
So we travelled down to Morrinsville on the Saturday, and then we carried on to Tokoroa on the Sunday. He stayed with his brother, and I went and stayed the night by my mum. And then the Sunday morning, when I picked him up for us to travel home, that's when he was sick.
What kind of sick? What did he say to you? How did he feel?
He told me that he was achy and that he didn't feel really, really well, so I ended up driving us home. He literally slept all the way home from Tokoroa back to Auckland.
Was that out of character for him when he'd been unwell in the past?
Yes, that was very uncharacteristic of him.
Alan had stayed with his brother Nigel and moko Calani Te Hiko in Tokoroa, and Calani says her koro complained of a bad night's sleep.
When he came to Tokoroa to visit us, he slept in my room. So I just went in and said good morning to him, and he was moaning about my bed. He's like, oh, your bed's too hard, your room's too cold. I was like, it's just you, you're old. And we had a laugh. Then that night when he got back to Auckland, he rang me and he was serious. I was like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm sick. I think I have COVID. I was like, no, you don't. Then I think it was the next morning we got the call that he was positive, and I just cried. Was broken. I mean, no one thinks that you're gonna lose anyone from it. I definitely didn't, because he was a strong man. But yeah, still broken now.
Can you run us through how quickly he became unwell?
We tested positive and went into isolation, I think on the 12th of August. So one of the things I wrote down was 24 days. I think we were in isolation a couple of days. Then he went into hospital. Then they put him in an induced coma. And 14 days after that, he passed away. So I'd say approximately 24 days altogether.
Over the course of those 24 days, a number of whānau members, including Trish and Calani, would test positive for COVID-19 and were sent to the Jet Park MIQ facility in Auckland. And then you got COVID.
Yeah, that was scary.
Tell me what was scary about it.
Just went downhill overnight and got sent to hospital.
What was that like?
Scary. I was alone. A lot of times I couldn't talk to my family because I couldn't breathe properly, and it was scary.
During his stay at MIQ, Trish says Alan's health quickly deteriorated. Tell me about the last conversations before he was transferred from MIQ to hospital.
I got scared for him. He laid down and he wouldn't respond to anything when I spoke to him. So I phoned up the medical staff and I told him I was scared. And then I rang up my mother and I asked her to say prayers with me. And it wasn't long after that they came and he had to, because you're not allowed in the rooms. And so he had to walk out of the room. And that was the last I saw him.
Once in hospital, Alan would be put into an induced coma and on a ventilator. For 2 weeks he battled, but it became clear Alan wouldn't recover.
When I was finally able to go in by Alan, I had to wash my hands and wear full PPE gear. I think I had a different kind of mask on and glasses, and a hat as well. And they told me things that I could or couldn't do. But my son and I managed to spend a couple of hours with Alan before he went. So I'm thankful for that.
I thought he was going to come out okay, that it would be all right. Then the Friday morning when I got the phone call from my uncle that he wasn't going to make it, cried. And I was alone in the room, so that was worse. And I just messaged him on Messenger and I told him I loved him and that I'd see him when we came out.
But he didn't come out?
No.
At the same time, Alan's brother, Nigel Te Hiko, caught COVID-19. His Māngai daughter, Gwen Te Hiko, still remembers the fear she had for her whānau. When did you find out he had become unwell?
He tested positive maybe a week after Calani. It was like a delayed positive test result, yeah.
Was he sick?
Yes, he had a bit of health conditions. So he had kidney failure as well.
And so then he learnt that his brother went into a coma. And how soon after that did he go into a coma?
I think it was a week later.
Were you optimistic he was going to come out?
Yeah, I had heaps of hope and faith that he was going to come out of it.
But 2 weeks later, Nigel lost his battle with COVID-19. And then he passed away with Alan. How was that for your whānau, actually for the whole community?
Yuck. It was yuck, yeah. It was not nice at all.
Calani Te Hiko was just as close to losing her life, but all she could think about was her koro Alan and koro Nigel. Does it make you realise how sick you were?
Yeah, it does now, but at the time, I just wanted everyone to be okay. I didn't care about myself, because it's always been family first for all of us. Especially for him, so yeah, I wanted him and koro Nigel to be fine.
Coming up, the Te Hiko whānau wants Aotearoa to know COVID is real and it takes lives.
Do you want a phone call late at night from a doctor saying, I don't think your husband's going to last much longer, you have to look at turning off life support? Do you want that phone call?
Tokoro brothers Alan and Nigel Te Hiko shared a close bond. Alan was an adored father and husband, raising his 2 mokopuna.
He was basically my dad. He taught me a lot. And a lot of the stuff I love to do is because of him. He was a good man.
Nigel Te Hiko was a much-respected iwi historian for Ngāti Raukawa, who worked tirelessly for his iwi and community in Tokoroa.
He loved his work, he loved his workplace, he loved the people he worked with, he just loved everyone that he'd come across.
Alan and Nigel died within 2 weeks of each other from COVID-19, and the Te Hiko whānau were left facing intense public attention and scrutiny. What's your thoughts on the way that the Americold case, your husband's case, was first described?
I looked at it as segregation. They segregated us by making it about race, and it isn't. COVID doesn't care what colour you are. It doesn't.
So you had this absolutely devastating month and a half where you were really, really unwell, and you've lost your husband, and you've had to bury him and your mokos are all sick. What was the reaction of the community to your whānau?
I actually stayed away from social media, but my sister-in-law phoned me up and says to me, "Oh, Trish, the people in Tukaro, they're awesome." And I says to her, "Why?" And she said to me, "They're actually thanking our whānau for going and getting tested and isolating before anybody else found out about it." So, yeah, because I know there was a lot of rubbish floating around in Auckland, and that's why I stayed off media. Mm.
Too hurtful.
It was really hurtful. The night Alan passed, we left Middlemore Hospital and we had to drive past one of the camera crews that was set up outside. And I think at that stage, Middlemore had told us that somebody had gotten a hold of my husband's name and had released it. And I was angry because we never even got a chance to tell all of our whānau, and nobody gave us the privacy, nobody. And I was really angry. My niece came outside to make a phone call, and there was a TV crew on at our gate wanting us to make a statement. We had a lot of rarus and mamae going on in our house and in our hearts, and they want us to make a statement. I don't think so.
Today, the Te Hiko whānau members who survived COVID-19 are still grappling with the long-lasting health impacts.
My daughter, it's well after a year now, since she had COVID, and she's still suffering side effects from that. She can't taste, she can't smell. Alan's other brother that went to ICU as well, he had to relearn how to breathe and now sleeps with a machine at night. And my son still suffers from fatigue.
What do you say to other people out there who don't really think COVID's that bad or, don't really want to get a vaccination? What's your message now that knowing what you know?
Don't be silly. It's serious. It's really easy. It's just a needle. It's better than being in a hospital bed, fighting for your life, or losing someone who means so much to you just because you want to be an egg and believe what everyone else says.
COVID's real, eh?
Very.
Māori vaccination rates remain worryingly low. The Te Hiko whānau want others to be spared the mamae and loss they've endured as a result of COVID.
I've heard some stupid things. One of my own nephews said to me, "Auntie, they put a tracker in you when they give you the injection." That makes me angry. One of my nephews said, "Auntie, have you heard the stuff they're saying around COVID? They're saying it's not true." And I said to that nephew, you've got an uncle in ICU and in a coma, and you've got me and your cousins and your nieces, and what more do you need to prove that COVID is a thing? For your own safety, for the safety of your whānau. Because if you get sick and you go into isolation, if your child is negative, your child has to go into isolation with you. And when they do, your child's going to get sick with you. Do you want that? Do you want a phone call? Do you want a phone call late at night from a doctor saying, "I don't think your husband's going to last much longer. You have to look at turning off life support"? Do you want that phone call? I don't want another phone call like that.
Ko te pō, te hokia a tai ao.